I want to talk about Candace Owens' episode where she plays what she describes as a leaked internal Zoom call of Erika Kirk speaking to her team just 11 days after the assassination of her husband, Charlie Kirk, because the way Candace presents this audio, and especially the numbers Erika cites in it, became the foundation for how the audience judged her emotional state. From the start, Candace makes the timing central. She repeatedly reminds viewers that this call took place less than 2 weeks after a public assassination, and she frames that fact as the lens through which everything in the audio should be heard. She explains that this was an internal call, not meant for the public, and she presents the leak as revealing how leadership was operating behind the scenes during that period. As Candace plays the audio, Erika is heard thanking staff for executing what she describes as a massive memorial event under extraordinary pressure. Erika praises the team's work ethic and organization, and then begins listing what she presents as the outcomes of that effort. According to the audio Candace plays, Erika says that more than 275,000 people attended the memorial event, with stadium overflow at Westgate. She then says that over 100 million people heard the gospel and learned about Charlie and the organization through the event and its coverage. Erika continues by highlighting engagement metrics. She says that thousands of people registered to vote as a result of the event. She mentions merchandise demand, saying that merch sales had already passed 200,000 units and were still increasing rapidly. She also notes that there were more than 50,000 hat orders that still needed to be fulfilled. Candace emphasizes that Erika then broadens the scope beyond the memorial itself. In the audio, Erika says that since Charlie's assassination, the organization has received approximately 100,000 chapter requests, which she frames as evidence of growing momentum. She also states that there have been around 300,000 new donors since the assassination, calling that response a blessing. She adds that more than 20,000 people had already registered for A Fest, a future event, which she presents as another sign that the movement is expanding rather than slowing down. Throughout this portion of the call, Erika's tone is confident and energetic. She sounds proud of what the team accomplished, focused on outcomes, and optimistic about the future. Candace repeatedly draws attention to the fact that Erika laughs lightly at moments, expresses amazement at the scale of the numbers, and speaks with what Candace describes as excitement and momentum rather than visible devastation. Candace's interpretation of the audio is not centered on whether the numbers are accurate or impressive, but on whether it is emotionally appropriate to be discussing donations, merchandise, attendance, and growth metrics 11 days after becoming a widow through an assassination. Candace tells viewers that hearing someone list figures like hundreds of thousands of attendees, hundreds of thousands of donors, and massive merchandise sales so soon after such a loss makes her deeply uncomfortable. She describes the contrast between tragedy and productivity as something that doesn't feel right to her. Candace reinforces this interpretation by connecting the audio to Erika's earlier New York Times interview, where Erika reportedly said that becoming a single mother was not the most traumatic part of the experience. Candace frames that quote, combined with the upbeat tone of the Zoom call and the emphasis on donations and achievements as a pattern. For Candace, these elements together suggest emotional detachment rather than resilience. The comments Candace highlights in her video closely mirror her framing. Viewers react strongly to the numbers themselves, not because they doubt them, but because they are shocked by how comfortably they are discussed. Many commenters say they cannot imagine talking about donor counts, merch sales, or organizational growth less than 2 weeks after losing a spouse. Others say that the laughter heard in the call is disturbing to them, given the context. Some go further and interpret Erika's composure and focus on achievements as evidence of coldness or calculation. What's notable is that very little of the reaction focuses on the substance of what Erika is actually doing in the audio, which is thanking staff, acknowledging loss, and attempting to lead an organization during a crisis. Instead, the numbers themselves become symbols. The 275,000 attendees, the 300,000 donors, the 100,000 chapter requests, the 200,000 merch sales. All of it is framed less as operational reality and more as proof that grief is being bypassed. The leaked nature of the audio is largely treated as justified within Candace's narrative because of public accountability. Candace argues that since this is a major political organization with enormous fundraising power, leadership behavior deserves scrutiny. But the ethical tension of using a private internal call to judge someone's emotional legitimacy is never fully addressed. The audience is invited to listen not for context, but for tone. By the end of the episode, Candace has effectively guided viewers to see the figures Erika lists not as achievements under pressure, but as evidence of emotional abnormality. The repeated emphasis on 11 days, combined with laughter and large-scale metrics, trains the audience to interpret composure as something suspicious rather than situational. Whether one agrees with Candace or not, the episode demonstrates how quickly expectations about grief can harden into moral judgments. Erika's focus on numbers, donations, and organizational growth is presented not as one possible way of surviving and leading through trauma, but as something that violates an unspoken rule about how widows are supposed to sound. And once that rule is accepted, every statistic stops being neutral and starts being an indictment.